This is another video, just more on sequestration for you. Okay, if you look at the numbers and you look at the whole stats and the whole thing, check it out, believe it or not, that there's $45 billion in rescission money. When I say rescission money, what I mean is that this is money the government has doled out to do programs or certain things that was never spent. Either the program went kaput or the money just went to something that is no longer a study or department priority. And basically, it's money given to something that isn't going to happen. It's not taking the jobs away. It's not something that you're cutting the legs out from under it. There's $45 billion, over half of the sequestration value. The money that's out there on paper that the government put out that could be used to pay down the sequestration so we don't have to cut so deeply in defense, which I'll get to that in a second actually, that we could take back without cutting a job from anybody or unfunding a study. $45 billion in rescission money is what it's called. $45 billion in rescission money. Okay? Now you take away from that also, you have another $156 million. It seems like it's a drop in the bucket compared to $45 billion. But I found this out. The money that's being paid to government workers, they're actually performing union duties. These are things that the union should be paying for with the dues they're taking from the federal employees. But instead, we're paying the union. We're paying for the union. We're paying basically the union's costs for them. Where are their dues going for, right? And that's coming out of your tax dollars. So, $45 million. That's half the sequestration money right there that we could just get rid of right there. We cut down the drasticness, which really isn't that drastic. Because if you watch my other videos, you know that sequestration is actually taking money not from their last year's budget, but from the amount that they're supposed to grow this year. So the federal government and every department is still going to spend more money this upcoming year than it did last year. So why we have to cut all these jobs? We don't have to. The money's still there. There's nobody actually has to lose their job because nobody has less money this year than they had last year. Huh. Okay. Now, for all you say, oh, well, it's going to hurt the Department of Defense and stuff like that. Okay, in the federal government and Defense Department specifically, there is $70 billion of identified waste. And that's just from a surface look. And that's things like Senator Coburn, people like him have been talking about for years. We have one case, we have a study on how fish view democracy. I'm sure there's some purpose to that. Also, we have the Pentagon Channel, which has a show called Grill Sergeants. Grill Sergeants. Really? Why do I need a Pentagon Channel? First off, we don't need the Pentagon Channel. But let's just take the superfluous programs on it, and with all that added up, including studies on whether fish like democracy or not, what they think about it, which I don't know how we know what fish think in the first place. Explain that to me, maybe I'll let you keep the program. Alright? $70 billion in the Defense Department of easily identifiable waste. Then we take on top of that the fact that during Obama in the past 4 years, every single federal department pretty much has had a 15 to 20% increase in budgets. 15 to 20%. Well beyond the average annual rate of growth that we usually factor in, the baseline budgeting principle, and that's what baseline budgeting is. Baseline budgeting is we factor the budget for each year based on actual percentage of growth that it's going to get. So all this budget talk and all this stuff is actually BS because we factor these numbers on whether on the government growing every year automatically. Whether it should or not, we base our budget numbers on the federal government growing every year automatically. A little ridiculous, right? Let's not even forget the fact that what Ronald Reagan talked about years ago, that the federal government should not measure its success in its programs on whether or not on how many new people were being helped by food stamps, but by how many people get off of food stamps. It seems like now a fifth of the country, almost 20% of the American populace, 50 million people, actually it's like a sixth, it's like 13, 17%, I'm not going to do the math right now for you, but 50 million people are on food stamps. It's grown. That seems like our economy and our federal government is failing because people aren't getting off of subsidies. They're not increasing their place in life and increasing their role, or at least their role if they help themselves. They're becoming more dependent, which means the program is obviously broken and not working, or it's not being properly applied, which means it probably should stop until we figure out what's wrong with it. Make people fend for themselves. Somehow survival, the fact of, survival instincts, do or die, aren't even forced to come into play, because most people will find a way to do, because people don't like to die. It's against our instincts. So, Right there, I just outlined for you $70 billion in the Department of Defense that could be cut. I've outlined $145 billion in rescission spending for programs that are no longer being implemented, or for studies that never even took place, or didn't ever get underway. Right there together, you have $115 billion. That's already $30 billion over sequestration.